What's going on, guys? Welcome to our channel. If you don't know who I am, my name's Josh. I am normally the one behind the camera, but this week Chad is not here, so I'm forced to play his role. So today we're gonna be going over a few cars that we have here. I'm gonna show you guys a few that we have in stock, some that are gonna be running through the auction this week, and then a little bit later in the video, we're gonna show you some clips from auction this week, as well as a little recap from Chad once he's back in town. Just kind of talk about how the sale went. So for now, we've got some really cool ones in here. And we're gonna start off over here with this SLR McLaren, actually, just because it's still here. These cars are super cool. This is a 1 of 25 car. It's got full body stealth PPF, low miles. It's a super special car. If you're not familiar with these cars, you can refer to our short video that shows off this car, and it kind of goes more into detail about it, but it's super cool. But now we're gonna move on to some cars that we actually have going on this week. We'll start over here with this 911R. So if you're not familiar with these cars, this is a Porsche 991.1. That's the nomenclature, essentially, for what this body style is. So if you look at it, upon first glance, if you're familiar with Porsches, you might look at this and think it's a GT3 Touring, but it's actually not. Like I mentioned, it's a 911R. This is essentially the hardcore, lightweight version of the 911 that came out for this year. They're pretty limited production. There's actually a plaque on the dash right over here on this side, and it tells you how many were produced. This one is number 247, and they only made 991 of these. So I would assume they did that because, like I said, this is the 991 generation, I guess you could say. All the Porsches have different nomenclature. Some people are better than I am at them. It's like this car right here. This is a 993 turbo. The 993 and the 964 look very similar to me, but I'm starting to kind of get the difference. I'm much better with the modern Porsches like this one. So anyway, like I said, this is a 991. They only made 991 of these. Roughly 300 of them came to the United States. So this is a pretty rare car. If you're looking for a modern Porsche that's probably going to retain its value and maybe appreciate, this is a super good option. So this car's got roughly 8,000 miles on it. My guess is that the person that bought this car probably drove it a good bit when they first bought it, and then the value started going up, started appreciating, and they stopped driving it. And that's why it's probably got, you know, a little over 8,000 miles on it. I think MSRP on these was like 185,000. I'm more partial to the 991.2s. I like the way that they're styled a little bit more. These still look really good though. And like I mentioned, if you're familiar with the GT3 Touring, they kind of have the same styling in the rear. Obviously, this has kind of the GT3 style rear bumper, and then the little spoiler that lifts up right here, as opposed to kind of having a big wing like you would be used to with a GT3 or a GT3 RS. This is a much more understated car, but they're super cool. Super lightweight, like I mentioned, magnesium roof, just a bunch of lightweight components. This obviously has the carbon ceramic brakes on it. Just really cool cars. And like I mentioned, I think these are gonna be really good driver's cars that go up in value. It's almost kind of a shame because they're such good driver's cars that people are starting to get a little scared to drive them because the value is going up so much on these cars. This is a really cool spec. I really like the interior, just kind of a basic interior. It's got contrast stitching that matches the paint on the exterior, 911R in the headrest, and then obviously manual transmission. This one is even more understated than normal because it doesn't have the stripes that they would normally have kind of on the hood of the 911Rs. If you're going down the road and you don't know what they are, you'd never know how much value these cars bring to the table. So really excited about that one. We're gonna move on to this Ferrari 360. So I personally really like Ferrari 360s. I would love a 360 Challenge Stradale, but you know, they're a little bit pricey. This car was the successor to the F355, and the F355 gets a lot of love because of the engine note that it has. They sound super good. This car also sounds really good, but it's not quite the same tone. It's a little bit more understated. And after this car came the F430, which got a lot more love than these. These are still super cool cars. And this has the gated manual, which is why we wanted to feature it this week. Obviously, this is a Spider, so top comes off. Normally not a big yellow person, but on certain Ferraris and Lamborghinis, I think the yellow works well. This is one of those cars. I used to really like black wheels. I think that the lighter wheels work well on these cars as well. I'm not sure on the production numbers on these. These are obviously, you know, more widely produced than something like a 911R, but still a cool car. And this one's actually really clean. I like the design in the back. I like that you can kind of see through the grates at a certain angle, kind of see the exhaust in there. Really cool engine cover, glass engine cover, shows off the engine. Like I said, I would love to have one of these. I think that they don't get enough love. This is a really good option if you're wanting Ferrari performance, you want a roadster, you want the gated manual, but you don't want to spend super crazy money. This is a good option for you. If I had to guess, this is not financial advice though, they'd probably stick around the same price point that they've been at. I don't see them appreciating like crazy, but anytime you have a car with a gated manual, you're probably gonna be in pretty good shape as far as value goes. Good car, good option. It's a really clean example. Of course, it has some chips here and there just from the age, which leads us to our next one, which is also another yellow Roadster. This obviously is a little bit different caliber of a car with Murcielago. So you have the V12. This is kind of an earlier car in the production run of the Murcielagos. If you are a Need for Speed fan, you probably associated updated these cars with Need for Speed Hot Pursuit 2, and this is pretty much the Hot Pursuit 2 spec. So it's got triple yellow, basically, yellow calipers, yellow paint, and then the yellow trim on the interior. Obviously, this one's a roadster. In the game, they're coupes, but I might be showing my younger age by talking about the game. So this one is the E-gear. I'm not a huge fan of the E-gear. I'm not a huge fan of the F1 transmissions and like Ferraris. So, you know, it kind of is what it is on one of these cars. But that being said, I wouldn't let that keep you from buying one of these cars, especially this one specifically. This one that we have this week, it's really clean. I really like the spec, like I mentioned. Normally yellow doesn't do it for me, but on a car like this, it just makes sense. The yellow on this one isn't just like a basic yellow. It's a really nice kind of metallic pearl. Looks really, really good in person. Compared to the Ferrari, it's just a totally different type of yellow. This has more hints of orange in it. Looks really, really good. I really like the silver wheels, like I mentioned before. The interior, I think it looks pretty good too. Everything's super clean on this car though. I'm pretty impressed with how good the condition is on this one. Whenever you see these cars, a lot of the time, just because of their age and how much they're driven, they tend to be a little bit worn down, but this one's in really good shape. Obviously, you've got the cool features like the doors going up on this one. Back in 2005, that was probably like super mind-blowing. And it still is today. Whenever you pull up in a car like this and the doors go up, it grabs everybody's attention. Obviously, this is an attention-grabbing car. If you don't want to grab attention, don't buy this car because it's bright yellow and the doors go up and everybody's going to look at you. This is one of those cars that they just don't make anymore. With the naturally aspirated V12, they sound amazing. If the E-gear is scaring you, don't let it scare you. I would still consider buying this car because you can always do a manual conversion. There's a ton of companies, well, not a ton, but there's good reputable companies that do manual conversions on these cars. It might not necessarily add to the value just because it wouldn't be an original option for the car, but there are people that buy these cars with the E-gear and then they go ahead and do the manual swap and it totally changes the game for them, makes it way better. Obviously that's gonna cost you, but on a car like this, I think it's worth it. It just adds to the driving experience. We'll come around to the back here. The only thing that I'm not a huge fan of on this specific car is the tinted taillights, but you can just peel that right off and this thing's pretty much perfect. This is another one like the Ferrari and the Porsche. This is a super clean car, just in really good shape. I'm honestly really impressed with it. Like I said, I'm normally behind the camera. I'm not the person like Chad that's like evaluating these cars and has a ton of experience, so take my opinion with a grain of salt because it is my opinion. But this is a super clean example. I've been around enough cars to know whenever a car is like super clapped out and when it's not, and this one's in pretty good shape. Really excited about this one. Excited to see what it brings this week. This one will be at auction with those two this Wednesday at Mannheim. Lane 9 is what we always run in. We ran in lane 8 last week. I'm not sure if we're running in lane 8 again this week. I feel like we probably are just because the volume's been really high. But that being said, we'll kind of transition. I'll show off a few more cars that are just in the warehouse. This was one car that ran last week. We kind of already referenced this one. This is a 964 Turbo. Super cool car. Chad knows more about this than I do. So if you want to learn more on the specifics of this car, go ahead and check out the short video that we released on these cars. There's this one and then a Carrera RS. That car was really cool. Ruby stone paint, factory. It had the really cool seats that are multicolors. And then we'll come back here to this Corvette. This is part of a collection that we bought. I'm a big fan of these. I'm not normally like huge on green cars, but whenever it's kind of this type of color, like a British racing green, I like it. Super bright lime greens, that's not for me. And then over here, kind of changing gears again. This is a Yenko Camaro. You might be more familiar with the older Yenkos from like the 60s. This is essentially the same idea, but modernized. You can achieve 1,000 horsepower a lot more easily these days, but still a cool package. I've seen one of these before. It was the 1,250 horsepower package. At the point that you're reaching 1,000, I mean, who cares if it's 1,000 or 1,200? It doesn't matter, but I like these cars. I think they're pretty cool. These will probably appreciate in value over the years if you keep them low miles, keep them stock, kind of how Yenko has them. Manual transmission, Recaro seats. I like these reds, especially with the metallics in them. Got some really cool stuff in here this week. Like I said, normally Chad's the one that kind of does these videos and I'm the one behind the camera, so let me know how I did. If you're not familiar with us, DuPont Registry Exchange essentially is one of the largest wholesalers in the country as far as volume goes. So like last week, I think we sold 315 cars in one day, 4 to 5 hours, which was basically $25 million worth of cars. Pretty crazy numbers. It's a very interesting business model. And for me being behind the camera, whenever I started filming for Chad, that was all sort of new to me. And I'm still kind of getting used to it and understanding the model. But essentially, we have buyers all across the country. And every week, they source all these cars and they get them shipped to Nashville. There's a few at satellite locations that are at different Mannheims across the country because that's where all these cars are sold at, is Mannheim. So a few of them are scattered here and there, but pretty much all of them end up in Nashville and they're sold here, which is really cool. So we get to see a lot of cars like these, a lot of specialty cars. Like later this week, we're supposed to be getting a McLaren Speedtail in. That'll be super cool. A few weeks ago, me and Colin, who's one of the buyers, we flew out to California to film a Porsche 918 Spyder. In certain cars like that, they're kind of behind the scenes deals with private buyers, private sellers, so we don't see as many of the hypercars, but pretty much every week you can count on seeing stuff like this on the channel or on Chad's social media. Really cool stuff, and it's always new. That's why I wanted to start doing videos for DuPont, because it's always new, it's always fresh, and people deserve to see these cars that we're bringing in, especially something like this 911R. I mean, you just don't really see these that often. And also, people might not be aware, and if you can bring awareness and show different enthusiasts or advise people on what might be a good car. And again, a lot of this stuff's new to me, so take it with a grain of salt, but I've learned a lot just from being around this stuff. So being able to show everybody on camera, I think it'll make a big difference, and a lot of people will enjoy the content. So that being said, if you're new to the channel or if you've subscribed from our short videos, we appreciate it. But if you're new, go ahead and subscribe, hit the notification button, and like the video because it does help. And the goal is to have more long format videos like this one and continue posting in the future and show off the cars. And we'll probably dip our toes into some driving footage and things like that on certain cars each week, but also just drop in the comments what you guys would want to see. Hearing what people want to see is very helpful in creating content. And also, if you have like certain questions, drop those as well. I think it would be fun to do like a Q&A with Chad. So again, Chad's the CEO. He essentially is like the GOAT of wholesaling cars like this. So if you want to learn or want to know something or have a question, just drop that below. I'll see if I can tie Chad down for a little bit to do a little Q&A video. But anyway, super cool stuff this week. We're going to have more. I would assume that we're probably going to have between 200 to 300 cars this week selling at Mannheim on Wednesday, and we'll go ahead and hop into that footage.
Market recap today. We sold 300-ish. Good market. Trucks were soft. Those have been the past 2-3 weeks. We sold this 2023 Porsche GT3 RS. Factory stickers, wrap over the car. Really sick.
$21,000 wrap. Those are one of two sets of these Boston exclusive wheels they made for this car. It also comes with the OEM wheels. Factory ceramics, all that jazz. The car looks great in person. Good warranty, everything's guaranteed.
Going once, going twice, about 25, 25, 25. So
then we sold this Demon. Had a $147,000 sticker. It's got the carbon fiber wheels. That's a 12K option. The roof is another $11,000. That one sold today. We sold the 911R today. It's going to a Porsche store. We sold the yellow Mercy.
30 and 30. So
Corvettes were pretty good. Mustangs, Chargers, sports cars. I guess it's that time of year. We sold about 26 million in total today.
I know one thing everybody always asks about is like what's hot, what's not in the market, what's your biggest winners, what's your biggest losers. It's kind of interesting now, like now that we've kind of split the lanes. So we run import Highline in 9, we run the domestics in 8. So you get like a little clearer picture of kind of the comparison. And a lot of times in wholesale, like domestics and imports kind of run together. A lot of times the whole market kind of runs together. Right now it is kind of varied in a certain way. So I would say like overall the imports and Highlines are just like a hair better than the domestics. A lot of the domestic stuff's still good, but the thing kind of dragging a little bit is like some of these pickup trucks, especially like the higher dollar, newer gas pickup trucks. Seems like some of it is like the 6.2 GM thing. It definitely seems to slow down those pickup trucks a little bit. It's kind of pulled the domestic numbers overall down a little bit. So right now the imports are outrunning the domestics, but overall it's still really good. Like it was a good day. Last week we sold right over 300. This week we sold right under 300. Overall, it was definitely good. I repped back here. Cal and Jamie repped 8. But it has been kind of cool. Now we're kind of split. You can kind of compare and contrast a little bit. We'll see. Sold a bunch this week. Buying's hard right now, so we'll be pushing hard to buy again. But always buying hot exotics, imports, domestics, hot rods, sports cars, old cars, new cars, whatever. We don't care. So if you need to sell anything, definitely send them to us. Quick offers, very easy process.
That'll do it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. As you heard, it was a pretty solid week at auction. Got some good footage of some good cars going. You heard from Cal and you heard from Chad, kind of giving an overview of what happened at auction. Next week, you're gonna have to subscribe and see what we've got in store because we have some pretty cool cars. We're standing right here next to one, and one of those cars just got picked up but you'll still get to see some clips of it. I'm not gonna spoil anything though, you have to subscribe. So stay tuned for the next video, subscribe, like the video, turn on your post notifications, and we'll see you next time.